next one. This chapter we find out, and okay, maybe I'm an idiot, maybe I'm not. Did we know that that Robin Arryn, what's the kid?
I think the kid's name is Robert in the books, but I think his name is Robin in the show.
Okay.
And I think I don't know if they talked about this in lore or something that I've listened to, Game of Thrones. I think they called him Robin because it's confusing I think they changed a couple names in the show.
Okay.
Just to help keep it straight.
Robin Arryn is in his son. Mm-hmm. Did we know that he was supposed to be fostered by Tywin? He was supposed to be his ward? I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
So this is the chapter we find out that when Jon Arryn dies, Robert asks Tywin to take him on as his ward.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Can you imagine, first of all, obviously Robin Arryn is, well, we don't know much about him in the books yet, but from what we know of him in the TV show, he's crazy, right? And they say he's sickly and they say that in here.
Lysa is crazy.
But can you imagine if he had been fostered by Tywin?
I mean, he'd be a great fighter.
When I read that, I was like...
And
what?
he'd be politically smart. He would be...
But also
great.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
At least Tywin
I don't know if I think I don't think Tywin's crazy. I think Tywin is...
That's what I'm saying, but Robin Arryn is. He's...
Right, but I mean,
mentally
maybe if he had been fostered,
Yeah, it's true. Maybe it was being
it's
with
like
Lysa.
he beat it. I mean, it's always a combination of nature and nurture, right? So, I'm sure his nature is not like someone like Tywin or Jaime or something, but... I loved this chapter, too. Again, I felt like I got even more of an insight into Robert and Ned's relationship. I felt like in the show, I was just always like, they're best friends, they're not agreeing, but they're best friends. Versus, this really puts into perspective that they really aren't best friends anymore. Ned loves Robert and is the reason that Robert is king, really, because he, won the battle. But, the fact that, Robert is this unrecognizable, I feel like they didn't play on that or maybe I just didn't get it as much, just how much of a joke he was. Him just, I mean, he's a fat dude and, they make this joke about how he's, eating powdered donuts and stuff and his clothes don't fit. I just, Ned and him talking and his,
they don't have powdered donuts.
Deep desire to not want to go to King's Landing, I didn't get that at all from Ned. I mean, I did a little bit, but, not as much as I, this intense desire to not go, and even, the conversation he has to have with Catelyn about it, he is miserable having to go to King's Landing. But what I also thought was different, and I don't know if I can talk about, I'm all about the RLJ thing. The R plus L equals J. I thought it was so interesting how right when he got there, he openly was like, let's go down to the tombs, right in front of his wife, right in front of Cersei, right in front of Jaime. He was like, I want to go see Lyanna. Yeah, but I just think it's so interesting. And then they go down there, and then he's talking about Lyanna and, how awful Rhaegar is and all this stuff, and he talks to Ned more in the books about how much he hates the Targaryens, this intense hate that he has for the Targaryens, and Ned never says anything.
Yeah.
He's always very, just listens. And he doesn't... Is it because he knows Jon's Targaryen? Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
But I just think it's so interesting, how he approaches every conversation he has with Robert about it, and I also think it's something he probably hasn't talked about the Targaryens in a long time or anything. That's not part of his everyday life anymore, talking about... how they took over these people, or talking about Lyanna on a daily basis. I'm sure he doesn't, but with Robert, Lyanna comes up all the time. With Robert, his hate for the Targaryens comes up all the time, and I just think it's so interesting.
And I think it's interesting that now that you're seeing into Ned's head,
yes,
that you see in his mind, when he's having those conversations, he thinks about Jon's parentage.
Yeah.
He thinks about, not his parentage necessarily, but just the fact that he is Lyanna's daughter.
Right.
Not even the R plus L equals J thing coming up, but just you see when he's talking to Catelyn or when somebody's giving him a hard time, you in his thought process, you hear the thoughts in his head saying something about it, and I think getting that sense more and more is so much stronger.
Yeah, I I totally agree.
I thought it was really funny when, again, like you said, like his viewing of Robert now and how, did I skip to the, oh, never mind. This is the next chapter.
Oh, we can go into the next chapter.
It's Jon's chapter, but it, again, touches on...
Fucking love this chapter.
It touches on the feelings on Robert and who he is now versus who he was when Ned had seen him last, and Jon and Jaime walking in, and Jon saying in his head,
like a king.
This is what a king should look like, he thought to himself as the man passed. Like,
yeah. I love that.
So
okay, I really, really, really love this chapter in general about Jon. I love that he's so imperfect. Like, I feel like the show doesn't show Jon being imperfect very much, or it just shows him, like, you know, making a dumb decision and, like, but it was in honor, so it's all fine. And I just loved, like, seeing him as, like, a 14-year-old boy, like, being whiny, like, getting drunk, starting to cry, running out. I was just so charmed by that aspect of him, because it makes me so much excited for how the book is going to take him to where he is now, and like what all those little things are going to be to that contribute to his growth as like a man and as a commander. I just loved it. I thought it was so charming. I love how when the Lannisters are walking in with everyone, he has something to say about everyone. I loved when he was like talking about Rob walking in with Marcella and how she looked like so stupid, and Ron was just so giddy he didn't even realize how stupid she was. And I was like, I just loved that.
He sounds like a 14-year-old boy.
He does.
So much.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And then there is, I think this is the same. Yeah, so, and then his whole talk with Tyrion in this chapter.
Yes. Just,
so good. Like, just Tyrion's words of wisdom already, but, like, never forget what you are, for surely the world will not make it your strength.
Yes.
And it can never be your weakness. Armor yourself in it, and it will never be used to hurt you. And I think that's interesting, because that even pushes forward into when he gets to the Night's Watch, and they're making fun of him, like Lord Snow and whatever, and just thinking back to those things, like, he's got all these wise people in his life.
Yeah. Well, and I also thought his talk with Benjen about joining the Night's Watch was really interesting. You know, it kind of goes back to, like, Jon definitely, even though he's a bastard, like, he still grew up in Winterfell. He's still technically a highborn. Like, even though he wasn't sitting at the top of the feast, he was still at the feast, partaking in the feast. So, like, he still comes from, like, a really great place. And I do think that entitlement, like, really shows through. And what I also thought was interesting, so when he was talking to Benjen about joining the Night's Watch, he brought up how that one Targaryen guy took over Dorne all by himself when he was just 14, because Benjen was, like, giving him a hard time because, like, you're only 14, you don't know things, and Jon was like, yeah, I'm going to be the best Night's Watch person ever. And then when he brought up the Targaryen dude, and then he, like, what's his name? And then he, like, looks up to him, was just, I was just like, it's crazy, right? That he's like, I want to be like that Targaryen dude. I can be just like him. And then I loved when they were talking about Ned, and Jon said that he would never father a bastard. I thought that was really shot to the heart there.
Yeah.
On Ned, Jon.
I don't think it was a shot to the heart. I just think it was, well, yes, but it was just a, like, my life
trying
has
to
been
prove himself.
a trip. Yeah, or just, like, my life has been, I saw it more as, like I would never, him sharing how hard his life was without saying it. Like, he's weathered, you know, Catelyn being so awful, you know, in certain times, and so without him throwing a fit like everybody's mean to me, that was him going, I would never put somebody through what I've been through.
Interesting.
That's how I saw it when he said it.
Interesting. I more saw it as, I mean, maybe that could have a deeper meaning, but I more saw it as, like, kind of like an offhand thing he didn't give a lot of thought to, because, like, you know, Benjamin was talking about, like, the types of things that you have to swear to the Night's Watch, right? Like, you can't lie with a woman, you can't do these things, and, like, Jon at 14 doesn't understand what that means.
Right.
And I saw it as, well, like, I'm great. I could conquer a city. I'd never, you know, I would never have a bastard. I would never do anything like this. Like, I'm awesome. Like, you should watch me fight with Rob outside. Like, I am really great.
Let's go right now.
Like, you're, you know, blood of my, I can do what you do. But that's an interesting thought, because it might be, I don't think he's, like, mad about his, I think he is proud of being Ned Stark's son, but they're definitely...
But I think he even talks about at the beginning of this chapter is that there are very few times that he actually enjoys being a bastard. There were times, not many but few, when Jon was glad he was a bastard.
Right, because he could drink at the...
Right, because he could drink, but, that even just that, like, not many, but a few, like, the idea that, like, his life as a bastard at Winterfell has been better than a lot of bastards, but still... almost, it's kind of
it's
a
just hard when
catch-22.
all of your brothers and sisters that you're super close with, I mean, it's actively, like, a difference is shown your whole life.
Right.
Like, has such a good relationship with Rob and with Arya and with Bran. And so, yeah, that's just kind of, especially when you're him and Robert are the same age, and they just...
It's a catch-22, and obviously,
different lives.
Not everybody, knows about Lyanna or wherever Jon came from, and so from the standard of everybody else and how they think about him at this point, it's a catch-22. Is it better to leave your bastard with if he was just a bastard? Is it better to leave her with the town wench and to send them money, or is it better to bring him back? Like, I'm sure he's thought about that. Like, what would my life look like if I wasn't... Like, is it really better to be a bastard in a high house... Or just to live a poor life.
Yeah, I think that's another insight on R+L=J. I feel like if Ned really would have dishonored Catelyn and fathered a bastard, he would have left the bastard with the mom.
And just sent money.
But because it's Lyanna's son, more than likely, he's obviously going to take him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the whole part with Tyrion. I just love every time they talk.
I love, and the last part, he's just a good writer. Like, I'm just really realizing that.
I really like his writing, too.
When he says...
just that he's laying all of these...
And visual. He gives amazing... Like, this visual is one of my favorites. When he opened the door, the light from within threw his shadow clear across the yard, and for just a moment, Tyrion Lannister stood tall as a king.
Oh, yeah, I loved that.
Like, that's something that even if you saw it visually, you wouldn't get that, the analogy, or the metaphor, but I thought that was really
Tyrion is tall as king. Bless his little soul. All right. Catelyn. So next is Catelyn.
I don't have a lot of notes for this chapter. This was when the chapter where they find out,
Yeah, they find out that it is probably the Lannisters who killed Jon Arryn, or at least that's what Lysa thinks. And then this whole scene of Catelyn trying to convince Ned to be the Hand of the King because, and I think, even in the book, I was noticing a lot of parallels between Catelyn and Cersei, actually. Like, Catelyn cares more about her kids than anything else.
It's an interesting parallel.
And I think that's just, it's the motherly parallel, really. Like, they would just both do anything for their children. I think the only reason that Catelyn wants Ned, to go, well, obviously it would be a high honor, and it would be, I think in her eyes, it's, like, not good of him to deny Robert that when he's been asked to do such an honorable thing, but also, like, having Lysa in mind, not Lysa, Sansa in mind, like, oh, well, Sansa could be the queen, and then she could birth, her kids could lead this part of the world, and then also, everyone else that's going to go over there, and Arya, like, I guess I just kind of noticed that parallel with her, like, intense love for her kids, and, like, she talked about how Ned being so, like flustered and frustrated and not wanting to go serve as Hand of the King, how she was kind of, like, playing this game as, like, I can't comfort him, I can't be there for him now until I've won this battle, because I need him to tell me that, yes, he's going to go, and then I can comfort him, and then I can, like, do what I want to do. Because she, like, actively spoke about, like, how she wanted to embrace him in this particular moment, and decided that she had to wait. Oh, and then another thing I wanted to talk about. So she was talking about that was the only time in the years that Ned had ever frightened her. Never asked me about Jon, he said, cold as ice. He is my blood, and that is all you need to know. And now I will learn where you heard that name, my lady. because she was talking about how she knew the story. She had heard people talking about how Ned like went up to the place and delivered a sword, like took his sword up to the beautiful sister,
yeah.
but to the beautiful sister, and it was his sister. It wasn't.
No.
Yeah.
Not at this specific.
Yes, because she's talking about how when he was dishonorable to her, when he had the bastard, that everyone around the town was like, yep, and then he went up there to that woman with his sword, the beautiful sister. That's what she heard on the streets about what had happened. And if the R+L=J theory is true, the beautiful sister was Lyanna. It was actually his sister. But I don't know if they knew that it was his sister.
I don't think they're talking about the same battle.
No, they're talking about when Jon was conceived, like when
Jon was brought home, but
people saw Ned go up.
I don't think they were talking about that time he walked up. I think it was a different time. Around the same time, but
I don't think so.
The lady Ashara Dane, is that who has it?
That's who they think it was, but it wasn't. At least in my opinion, I don't think that's what it was. I think the beautiful sister that people are referring to on the streets is Lyanna.
Anyway, I don't know. We'll have to ask somebody who knows.
Because I'm pretty sure that's right.
This would have been a different passage. This would have been months and months before he got Jon, because this would have been the night that Jon was supposedly conceived.
No, that's say that's when he walked away with Jon. When he went up to see the woman, the beautiful sister. And he came back with Jon.
That's when he would have been conceived.
No, that's not what it says. They said that's when he came up to get Jon, and then he came back to Winterfell. I just need to find the passage.
It's right here on page 65. It says, Ned would not speak of the mother, not so much as a word, but a castle has no secrets. They whispered of Sir Arthur Dane, the sword of the morning, deadliest of the 7 knights, of Aerys Kingguard, and how their young lord had slain him in a single combat. And they told how afterward Ned had carried Sir Arthur's sword back.
I think that's when he got Jon. It just seems like nobody really knows. Like, even the rumors that Catelyn's hearing just seem like so broad and generalized. Like, it's like, I feel like Catelyn would love to know, and she's a smart woman, so I feel like if she had enough information, she could have figured it out, but I think that's just the thing. There's really not enough.
I think that's the whole thing, though. Her anger clouded her ability to think, wow, this was super out of character.
She's very emotional as well, yeah. I think her emotions...
She didn't know him well enough then. So she kind of chalked it up to, this is what people do.
But nobody knows. If someone knew that about the Honorable Lord Neddard Stark, like, it would...
Everybody's always shocked by it. So the fact that Catelyn didn't take a step back and go, I'm going to try to figure this out, I think it shows that she, acted out of anger.
But then why would Ned lie to her? Right? Like, it's the same thing.
But wouldn't you, like, if Brian came home, like, if we were in that situation, you can't even say it now, in our days, but, like, and I knew that it was out of character for something like that, I would go, okay, what's really happening here?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure she thought that, but at the same time, and when he's like, we're not talking about it, and she can't get any more information from anywhere. I think
culturally that was just how it was, too. Yeah. You didn't press.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, she wanted to go to him, but... like, knew it wasn't
I think it shocks her, but yeah, that obviously it affects their relationship forever.
Yeah, because they die before.
Does she ever know anything? But yeah,
and before he ever knows anything. Really?
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry for all my R+L=J fan theory-ness that I'm doing. I just feel like it's so hardcore in the first few chapters. I think it tapers off, but I'm so sorry for continuing to talk about it. I hope it doesn't spoil anyone. Sorry.
I know. We'll put like a spoiler warning. Like, it just is what it is. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I'm just so into that theory, and I think it's so evident in the first few chapters.